Get My Life tour in one word, it would be vulnerability. Showing up for yourself is so important. Welcome to the Get My Life tour. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco. Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Get My Life tour. It is me, your host, Lydia T. Blanco. And as always, I am so excited that you decided to show up for yourself, take center stage in your life, and practice vulnerability. That is no small task. Goodness. Look, every stop on this tour has been incredible. And I feel like it just keeps getting better. And I'm like, okay, how? Why? Oh my goodness, but I'm here for it. And this stop is one of those stops, y'all. I think you're going to hit the rewind, replay, download, subscribe, review, all of that, because I am sitting down with an incredible woman, a fighter, a warrior, a survivor, someone who I met, I want to say in October 2020. And we have been connected. And I'll get into how we met, but let me just intro her in really quickly because she is so delightful. I am talking about none other than Miss Patricia Riley. She is the Chief Fighting Officer. I love that. Of Fight or Fight Harder. She is a woman who is thriving. She has had her bout with breast cancer, and now she is helping other women say, you know what? It's time to fight harder. And for that, I am so grateful. Help me welcome Patricia Riley to the Get My Life tour.
Oh, thank you so much, Lydia. What an amazing introduction. Thank you so much. You made me feel like I'm somebody.
You are somebody. Let me tell you something. From the moment we met at Ashley's event, right? That's where it was.
Yeah.
Ash, I was like, wait a second, because I know there's more to your story and you ain't even telling it. Wait a second, because someone is going to partner with you and it's not going to be someone else. It is going to be me. And I am so glad you said yes. I'm so grateful.
I'm so glad that you asked. It was an honor to me. And just as you said, when we met at the speakers retreat, it's like the way that you guys poured into me, you, Ashley, and Janice, I was blown away. So it was like, you guys were the highlight for the weekend for me. So I'm grateful to you.
You are more than welcome. You know, before I continue to rave about you, let everyone know who you are in your own words.
In my own words, I am, as you said, a breast cancer fighter, survivor, and now thriver. I am a woman that is just trying to walk in her purpose and live with intention every day with purpose and on purpose.
With purpose and on purpose.
Yes.
And you know, I think at times when we think about purpose, we're trying to figure that thing out, right?
Yeah.
But you've been able to navigate purpose in real time. And I know that may sound odd to some, but is it fair to say at some moments the trajectory of your life changed and you had to learn how to navigate your purpose in that way as someone who has fought breast cancer? And before you answer the question, because I'm going to be a little long-winded here, y'all, so bear with me. What captivated me about your story was the timeline. It sounds like something out of a movie. You're working, you're living your life, everything is good. Yeah, you know, life is real. But then you lose your job, and then in the next moment, you're diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yes.
And you still have the boldness, the courage, the gratitude to say that I'm living on purpose with purpose.
Yeah. And you know what, Lydia? All praises be to God because honestly, as you said, I was 41 years old when I was diagnosed. No history of breast cancer within my family. Living my best life, traveling, had just went to Belize in September to celebrate one of my girlfriend's birthdays. So I was living, you know,
Mm.
working out, healthy. So I thought, and I had no idea. But it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I
Mm.
literally thought that this was the end. This is how I'm going to die at the age of 41 years old. This is it. And who, like, really at 41 years old is thinking, like, about death? Now, in all honesty, I have had thoughts of death, like wondering how will I die? And so it's like after getting that call on December 10th of 2018, I was like, this is it. This is it. This is how I'm going to die. And so in that moment, with my mom being here with me and receiving that phone call, um, in that moment, I was angry. I was angry with God
Mm.
because I am a woman of faith. I believe God, go to church, have a relationship with God, pay my tithes and offering, all that. So, so I'm like, in that moment, I'm like, God, you didn't hear my prayers. You didn't hear my mother's prayers. You didn't hear
Mm.
any of the prayer warriors you didn't hear any of us. And in that moment, I was like, I'm never going back to church. I see why people don't go to church. I can't do this. I'm not
Mm.
doing it. Literally, Lydia, no kidding, about an hour later, I was by myself because my mom left the house to go with my brother to handle something. So I'm sitting there in that moment, and God started to speak to me. We had a conversation, and He told me, He said, "You are already healed. My daughter, you are already healed. I'm just using you." And so He said to me, and I heard His voice loud, I mean, just so clear. And He said to me, what I need you to do is share your journey and what's happening and what's going to happen. You're going to go through something. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but I'm with you and you're already healed. That's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear.
Sometimes all we need is a word.
That's it. That's it. And I needed it in that moment. And God is a God. He allows us to lament. He allows us to ask Him
Mm-hmm.
questions. He allows us to go through those roller coaster of emotions that I went through in just that short time frame of 1 hour. But after I heard that I was healed and cancer wasn't going to kill me, oh, we good. Come on, God, let's do this. Yeah.
And is that the moment that Fight or Fight Harder was born? Or was that the moment where your enthusiasm for life was renewed?
Actually, neither. So
Mm.
in that moment, I was still scared.
Mm.
I was still scared because, you know, again, getting that phone call, it was not a call that I was expecting. You know, leading up to that, I had some pain in my right breast that just would not go away. And I felt something in my breast like months prior. And I went to the gynecologist. She did a breast exam and everything. And she told me, she said, well, you're still relatively young. So that's just your breast, you have dense tissue. So it's nothing to be alarmed about. That's not a lump. Then she asked me, she said, have you had a mammogram as of yet. I said, no, I haven't. She's like, okay, well, you're over 40 now. Again, I was 41. She said, so I'm just going to write this prescription out for a mammogram, but it's nothing to be concerned about. Okay. So life was still happening. I wasn't concerned about it. I did not immediately go and get that mammogram because at that point I wasn't having any symptoms. I wasn't having the breast pain or anything like that. But that summer, I started to get sick quite often. And I kept going to the emergency room, going to the doctor. They chalked it up as anxiety. They were like, they ran all kind of tests. All kind of tests, didn't find anything. So now fast forward to November of 2018, now this breast pain starts to come and it doesn't go away. And so in talking to people, friends around me, they're like, it's probably a cyst. I've dealt with that before. It's prominent in African American women. So I'm thinking that cancer was the furthest thing from my mind. It truly was. So anyway, going back to your question, in that moment, the day that I got that phone call stating that I had breast cancer, again, even after hearing God say that I was still healed, I was still scared because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, what the treatment plan was going to be. I didn't know what else the doctors were going to say. So I was on edge and filled with anxiety, anticipating that doctor's appointment that was coming up that was going to be 4 hours long. And so, yeah, so it wasn't until literally days before my first treatment in January. My first treatment was 2 days after my 42nd birthday on January 11th. So I was not looking forward to my birthday. Didn't really feel like, celebrating or anything like that. But it was in a conversation with my sister-in-law, Lisa. She called me after getting the news and, she was emotional and she said, Trish, I just can't believe this. She's like, I cannot believe this. She said, but we need you here. We need you here. We need you fighting. And so I told her, I said, Lisa, look, I only have two choices, to fight or fight harder. And she's like, I know that's right. So not even thinking, like, it just rolled off of my tongue in the moment, again, a God thing. So it wasn't until I was going through my treatment, going through chemo, that I noticed women that did not have the support system that I had. Like I had a schedule of friends and family to go to my 6 treatments. Everyone was like, just put me on the list. Let me come in. Let me get in where I fit in. Yes. And so, so at the hospital, I can only have 4 people at a time. So off the top, my mom and my sister were like, oh, we're going to be there every treatment. So whichever one of your friends you want to come, that's fine. But, no, we're riding this thing out. And so I saw a lot of other women did not have that. And Lydia, it truly broke my heart to see women going through such a horrific time alone. And so I think it was around my 3rd or 4th treatment. I had a conversation with my sister on the way to the hospital. And I told her, I said, I want to be able to pour into other women that's going through this. So I was like, maybe, just after I'm done with my treatment, come and sit with other women and provide support that they may need. And so my sister's like, yeah, she's like, maybe starting a foundation. I was like, yeah, I said like a nonprofit foundation. She's like, what would you name it? And I sat there and I looked at her. I was like, fight or fight harder. She's like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really appreciate those God moments when words, when names, and things of that nature come to us so easily, right? It just flows. Yeah. But it's almost like we have to be open, and you were open to the word about your healing, and it just came. it just came. I also love your best friend or your friend Lisa saying, I know that's right. Okay, that is us all
Yeah.
day. Right.
Yeah.
And to me, there's something deeper about that statement now, right? Like, I know that's right. Like, I
Yeah.
know, right? Some
Yeah.
things we know, and then there are things we know for sure, like Oprah says,
Yeah.
but it just came to you, right?
Yeah.
So while you were still afraid, you trusted and
Hmm.
believed for your healing. And
Yeah.
you also had an assignment. You
Yeah.
had eyes to see things differently, right? You had a different
Yeah.
perspective and vantage point from those who just went into the room, sat in the waiting room,
Yeah.
received their. You were able to see the women who were often overlooked.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to this,
Yeah.
right? I want to ask you first about receiving the word,
Hmm.
trusting and believing, being afraid, and being on
Hmm.
assignment. What do you
Yeah.
know now for sure after having that experience?
What I know for sure is this is one of the things that I was created to do.
Mm,
This is what I've been purposed to do. Now, purpose doesn't always look pretty. Breast cancer was not pretty. The fight was not pretty. Although I tried my best every time I went into chemo to look pretty because I wanted to still feel somewhat normal. So I
yeah.
went in all the time with my pink lips and camouflage and pink, i.e. the camouflage sweater today. But it wasn't pretty, you
Mm,
know. But I knew that God was holding me accountable. I knew that I had to complete this assignment, you know. And even though some days did not always feel good, I didn't always feel like, okay, I'm going to be healed. Lydia, there were times that I went through the treatment, the chemo treatment, and the next morning I would wake up surprised that I woke up. Woke up
wow.
like I'm still here,
Wow.
you know. So that was a testament right there that I'm here on purpose because if I was done, I would be dead.
Mm.
Yeah.
Patricia,
Uh,
so many of us subscribe to these stories that, you know, these prominent and well known organizations share with us. And those are the
mhm.
stories we know. We
Yeah.
see the pink ribbon,
Yeah.
it's marketed and it is
Hmm.
sold high dollar values everywhere, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But then there's the other side of that, and that is how Black women are treated in the healthcare system
Mm.
and the cost associated with being ill
Mm.
and the cost associated with being overlooked
Yes.
as a Black woman.
Yes.
I think so many of us know women in our families or friends, our friends groups who have battled with breast cancer, but we often
Hmm.
don't hear their stories. We may hear that one day they don't feel good.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get an inkling that they rather not be here, right? Because we don't know what
Hmm.
that feels like. But I
That's
really
right.
appreciate you sharing,
Hmm.
what you've shared thus far about your
Hmm.
journey. My goodness. And I'm so grateful for Fight or Fight Harder.
Hmm. Thank
You
you.
know, you are more than welcome. What was your experience like being a Black woman, right? And you had your support system, which is incredible, and this
Yeah.
desire to be that for other people. But what was it like navigating that, the healing process and speaking to different specialists and going to the doctors and choosing to fight harder?
Yeah. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. Very good observation, because there are disparities in the Black communities as it pertains to healthcare, just going to the doctor, the type of care that we receive. And so, in going back to when I was first diagnosed, so the doctor that diagnosed me and the hospital that diagnosed me, I did not receive care there. And let me tell you why. So, and I won't name them, but because it is a good hospital here in Chicago. But the call that I received and the delivery that I received of the news was not good. It did not make me feel as though I wasn't just a number, that I wasn't just another woman diagnosed with breast cancer, that I wasn't just another statistic. So when I answered the phone, the doctor said, "Hi, Patricia, this is Dr. Such and Such calling with your results." Yeah, so we did find breast cancer in your right breast. We found 3 lumps. So I do not know the stage, but we want to go ahead and set up an appointment with you for to meet with a team of doctors. It's going to be about 5 or 6 doctors that you meet up with. Are you available this Friday if we go ahead and set that up?
No, no way.
I'm sorry, what? I kid you not. My mother is my witness. After she said cancer, I literally just fell into my mother's arms because I'm like, is she speaking with this much enthusiasm? I mean, no
Oh my
bedside
God.
manner at all. And so my mother is trying to be strong for me and fight back tears, but then she starts, crying. And again, after that, I didn't hear anything after you have breast cancer. So I went through with the appointment that she set up that Friday, and that was even worse. So my mom, my sister, and I, we get into the appointment and we met with the oncologist first. And so he comes in with this big book, and he starts going through the process and what the treatment plan would be. And I mean, he's like skimming through it like he left the car running. So
My goodness.
I'm I'm sitting there like, is this is this real? Is this for real? And my sister, she's like, so do we know what caused the breast cancer? He's like, we're gonna do some genetic testing to see if she's carrying the gene. If she's not carrying the gene, then I mean, 85% of it is just bad luck. It's
No,
probably just
wait.
bad luck.
I
Yeah.
I cannot.
I can't make this up, Lydia. Yeah, that is exactly what he said. The look on my sister's face, I said, "Uh-oh, that inner south side of Chicago, Inglewood, is about to come up." My sister leaned up. She said, "I'm sorry, what did you say?" Yeah, I mean, and he repeated it, same tone, same manner. Yeah, it's just probably just bad luck. I was like, okay. After that, I was like, I can't, I can't do this. So he left out of the room, and I'm crying so hard because I'm frustrated. I'm scared. I don't want to be here. I don't want to get treatment here. So, so we went on with the appointment. After we left, I told my mom and my sister, yeah, I'm gonna need a second opinion. We're gonna we're gonna get a second opinion, and I'm going to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, which is one of the top hospitals in the nation. And so at that point, honestly, it really didn't even matter what Northwestern said. I just knew that I didn't want to get treatment there. So Northwestern is where I received treatment. It's the hospital where a lot of people call it the bougie hospital. But the way that I was treated was like oh my God, it it makes me teary eyed just to think of how well they treat their patients, the empathy that they have, the time that they take to thoroughly explain things, the empathy, that they show, the services, that they provide. I was in chemotherapy getting acupuncture for free because they said acupuncture helps with the pain and the side effects that comes along with chemo. I was able to get a massage. I was able to get a facial.
It's the little things.
The little things, and I'm just not sure that hospitals or healthcare within our communities provide services and, things like that. And again, just the different treatment that I received and just the delivery of the diagnosis made a huge difference.
No wonder why you're the chief fighting officer. Okay. You have been on the front lines. You have had to get some dings in your armor, but you're still, tell us about how you're showing up for other women with Fight or Fight Harder. Because I know people are probably like, wait a second, she did not just go through, and she still helped. But that's what we do. That's who we are.
Yeah.
We go through hell and high water, and we still come back.
We still come back and show up for each other. That's what we do. That's what Black women do, And I'm so glad that you mentioned that because, again, in the beginning, God told me that I needed to share my journey. And so I started to share before I started my chemo treatment. So I started sharing with my, of course, immediate family and then extended family. I said, I want everyone to know before I start putting it out on social media. And I'm a very transparent person anyway. So for God to say to share it, he knew that he chose the right one because I am that person that just lives out loud. So when I started to share on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, the outpouring of love was just amazing. I mean, people DMing me, people reaching out to me from high school that I never even had one conversation with, just saying, I want to be there for you. How can I help you through this? Can I come to your chemo treatment? What's your address? I want to send you flowers. I want to send you a package. Just so much outpouring love. And so during my journey, I shared everything. The not so good days, the time when I lost my hair and my sister had to shave my head. That was one of the most hurtful parts of the whole journey for me. It was emotionally tough. And so it took me some time to share that, but I knew that I needed to share it because, again, the fight, it ain't pretty, And so anyway, I've had women to reach out to me on social media saying, hey, I came across your page. I was just diagnosed with breast cancer, but going through your page has just given me the strength to know that I can make it through as well. And so there's one person in particular, she reached out to me. Actually, let me go back. Someone from my church on the staff reached out to me and said, you have my heart so full today. I was like, what did I do? She said, and this is during the pandemic. So, we haven't physically been in church. She said to me, I've had someone or we've had someone to join the church during this time. And so we asked, how did she find the church? And she said, actually, from one of your existing members, her name is Patricia Riley. She's like, really? she's like, yeah, she's like, and I also saw that, she went through breast cancer and everything. She's like, and I've been wanting to reach out to her, but I'm scared because I don't know her. I don't want to seem weird. And so Miss Wendy is who it was, the person from church. And Miss Wendy told her, she's like, oh, the person that you see on social media is exactly who she is.
Come
She
on,
would want you.
authenticity.
Yeah, she's like, she would want you to reach out to her. She's like, I'm telling you. She's like, because that's just who she is. So that just made my heart full,
Mm.
in the fact that I'm showing up the way that, you know, God has purposed me to, you
Come on.
know?
When you are the church.
Right?
Hello, somebody.
And yes. And so eventually she did reach out to me,
Mm.
Martina. She did reach out to me, and I was able to help walk her through her journey.
Mm.
Yeah. And so her and I still have yet to meet in person because of the pandemic. But it's like we talk all the time, you know. Now she checks in on me like, hey, how you doing? And, she fought the good fight and she's won the battle. So it's like it confirms that this is one of the reasons why I'm here.
I'm smiling ear to ear right now because you are something special. You are someone special. You're building
Oh,
community. You are still, in my eyes, healing and being a healing presence, which is incredible.
thank
There
you.
are, you are welcome. There are so many people who suffer in silence, are
Yeah,
might be embarrassed by their journey, or they don't think they have anything to share. They just are someone
yeah,
else, right? Who just so happen, right, to be
yeah,
diagnosed, or I don't know what the idea or thought may be, excuse me, but some people just choose not to share.
yeah.
And this is why I am so grateful for the Get My Life tour, because I'm like, look, I don't
Hmm.
know who is tuned in and needed
Yeah,
to hear this for themselves, to share with a loved one or with whomever it is. But you sharing is so powerful,
yeah. Thank you.
on
Yeah,
purpose, with purpose.
yeah. And another thing, because there has been moments recently, I've recently shared a video on my social media pages, because, as you said, I've still been in the fight. Yes, I've won the fight over breast cancer. I've gone through 6 chemo treatments and a mastectomy and reconstruction, all those things, but I still had to have another surgery just this past February on my liver, because there was a spot on my liver that they saw early on, during the diagnosis. And so I had a biopsy on it, in 2019. So they found that it was benign. It didn't have anything to do with cancer, but they wanted to make sure. So they wanted me to have it removed. So that was the surgery that I had done. And so I was reluctant to share that, with on my platform, because I'm like, oh, well, people already know, my journey. They already know that I've gone through breast cancer. They already know that I've won the fight. I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to appear like I'm looking for sympathy or social media attention. But then I had to be reminded by God that I made a promise to Him to share every part of my journey, right?
I'm not going to run out of my seat. I'm going to sit right here.
Don't run,
Continue.
don't run, Lydia. Not,
Continue.
not yet. And so I was like, so wait a minute. So me not sharing it is making it about me. It ain't about you, Patricia. It's about your purpose. And so that morning, I had to be at the hospital at 5:30 a.m. I got my butt right on on video, made the video, sharing with everybody and letting them know exactly that I didn't want to share, but that it's not about me. And so a lot of times I believe that's why a lot of us are reluctant, to share because of people. What would people say? What would they think? You know, so I'll just suffer in silence. And as you said, I don't really have a story to share. My story isn't different than this person. There's a ton of women that have been diagnosed with breast cancer, but everybody has a story. Everybody has a testimony. And what I know about mine is my transparency and my testimony is tied into someone else's deliverance, into someone else's healing, and possibly into their purpose. So I have no choice but to share.
Oof. Remember the promise.
Yes.
Remember the promise. We often forget or disregard the promises we make to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then you talk about the promises you make made with the Most High.
You don't want to break that promise.
You don't want to break that promise. And sometimes we do.
We do.
Right? Because of how keeping that promise will look to other people. Wow.
That's right.
We break the promise because of what keeping that promise will look like to other people. We can't afford disobedience. A lot of us cannot.
We cannot, Lydia. We can't.
Some people are like, oh, I know repercussion, consequence, whatever. No, I don't want that smoke. I don't want the holy smoke. Nope.
Not the holy smoke.
I read about that holy smoke. Nope.
Listen, I don't want no parts of it. No.
There is so much that you have overcome. Let's talk about thriving, okay? Because I love this term that has been coined, survivor. And let me give proper credit to the young lady who I saw use it first. And I could be wrong, but this is who I saw use it first. Let me find her name. I'm going to find this in real time. I believe her name is Christina, but I could be spelling it wrong. Let's just be fast, Lydia. And let's say her name is Christina, but I'll get it right. But there's a young lady, and she is a media personality. And a couple of years ago, she actually shared that she was battling breast cancer. No one really knew. And it wasn't until she came out and did a beautiful photo shoot and her hair was shorter. And of course, so many of us were used to seeing her one way. She was like, I'm a thriver. And I was like, I love that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right. And I know we had that conversation about survivorship, but I have to ask, what does survivorship look like for you? What does that mean to you to be someone who is thriving after surviving?
So for me, surviving means it's something that you made it through. Thriving is there's something you're growing through. Surviving is something that you do or did. Thriving is something that you choose to do. So I'm choosing to not just exist now, but just to live in my quote unquote, the term that we've heard so often lately, my new normal.
You know what, Patricia? You're on fire. I know you heard that before.
You are so silly.
You are on fire. I like that. Growing through.
Yeah.
Growing through.
Yeah.
That says it all. Uh, okay, and I actually found the young lady's name. I don't know where I got Christina
Okay.
from, but her name is
Okay.
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Listen, she is an incredible young lady. So I do want to, correct myself.
Mm-hmm.
But, growing through,
Yeah.
we've grown through so much.
So
What
much.
what excites you the most about coming out on the other side?
What excites me the most is that God chose me, that God trusted me. He trusted me with this battle. And there's something, this just popped up in my head. This was something that my niece Courtney said to me as I was going through my journey. She's like, Auntie, I'm so proud of you. She said, you wear cancer like a badge of honor. She's like, it's amazing. And so when she said that, I said, a badge of honor. I was like, wow. And I'm like, that's so deep. But it is an honor. It is an honor that God thought that I was strong enough, number one, to go through this, of course, with him. Also, that he trusted me to be transparent enough to share this and to be obedient enough to follow him during this journey.
My goodness.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So, and also, the biggest thing, I've always been one to, I love to help people. I love to encourage people. So that's exciting for me to be able to share such a painful part of me and to be able to pour that into somebody else to say, okay, I made it. You can make it. Breast cancer is not an automatic death sentence. It's not. Um, and so it's exciting to me to really see this foundation grow, and to be able to pour it into so many other people and to see it take a life of, take a life of its own. It started off as a foundation and now I have a podcast and the
Yes.
thing about, fight or fight harder, I can see it, the primary foundation and the vision and the mission of it being about breast cancer, but fight or fight harder can be applied to any of our lives.
Say that.
We all have life challenges. We've all had to fight through something. We're all fighting through this global pandemic. You know, we've all had to pivot. We've all had to, one day wake up and our lives be completely changed and now have to adapt to a new normal. So we've all had to pivot our mindset. We've had to have more patience. We've had to change our perspective if we were going to make it through this pandemic.
Right.
So I can just see the foundation, just again, just taking a life of its own and going a lot further.
You know, I'm so grateful that you said that because so many of us are fighting alone.
Mm-hmm.
And you saying that it applies. I really hope that people are encouraged to seek out those who they can have stand alongside of them, right? As they
Absolutely.
show up,
Yeah.
as they fight. That's what you're doing with the foundation, with the Fight or Fight Harder podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And yes, come on. And just, as you continue to show up, you know, I have to ask you about the impact your foundation has been able to have. Tell us how. Just go ahead and just drop all the wins on us. Let us know what you're up to.
Yeah, so it is still in the infant stages of development, but I have been able to, again, pour into women that I haven't even met in person. People that, again, have found me either through a mutual friend or they found me through my social media, and now we're forever connected. So I have been able to walk them through the steps of their journey and letting them know what to expect, resources, things like that. Also, I've been able to financially pour into people during this pandemic that were going through breast cancer. And I know it was, oh my God, I couldn't even imagine going through treatment alone and not having someone to be able to accompany me, because my support system was so strong, like I would have been out of my mind. So it pained me not to be able to be alongside those, women. But the best thing that I could do, was offer, gift cards for Amazon or for their families, for a meal or things like that. And so that has been important for me during this time to be able to do that. And I want to do so much more. I plan to do so much more. I am going to do, so
Yes.
much more. Also in helping to provide resources to those women that are in need to equip them with the things that I needed during my fight that I didn't even know that, I didn't need it because I didn't really have anyone to like hold my hand through the process and say, we'll do this, get this is going to help with this side effect. So I want to be able to be that person.
You know, you didn't need the official lettering of 501c3. You didn't need an LLC, millions of dollars, none of that to get started.
Yeah.
Right? You use what
Mm-hmm.
you have
Yeah.
and you do it because you are on assignment, because it is a part of your calling and your purpose. And
Yeah.
I really hope that people hear that deeply and that it's what you need to get started where you are with what you have. Oh my
That's right.
goodness.
Yeah.
You, I just like want to give you all these virtual hugs. I'm like, yes, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Before we get into your mic drop moment,
Mm-hmm.
I really would appreciate it if you speak directly to the women and men, right? Because I think sometimes we forget, not you, but just sometimes we just average people who haven't lived this experience
Yeah.
or haven't been in close proximity to it, forget that men can also be diagnosed with breast cancer,
Yes,
right?
they can. Yep.
So
About 1% of men are diagnosed with breast cancer. Yep.
if you could speak to those who might be fighting at the moment or those who are now in remission, and just send them a love note, anything that you feel led, excuse me, to share with them.
Yeah. So the first thing that I would share is feel what you need to feel. Don't allow other people, not even those closest to you, to project and say, you know, get over it. Well, you survived. Well, that was then. And this is something that changes you forever. It changes you forever. So if you're in the middle of the fight, have survived, and you're now thriving, feel those feelings. Feel what you need to feel to heal. And I would I would also say to those people that are afraid, that have never ever gotten a mammogram or anything like that. It's just like, well, I don't want to know, or I hear that it hurts. And Mammograms, they're uncomfortable. But let me tell you something. Chemo is a lot more uncomfortable. Yes. So check on your girls. And another thing I wanted to share, specifically to my Black women, one thing that we may not know, or that people may not know, is that Black women are less likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer, but Black women are more likely to die from breast cancer than white women, actually at a rate of 41%. So, sis, ladies, please get your mammogram, because early detection does save lives. It truly does.
My goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Oh, look, you have been a godsend from the very first moment we spoke. I was like, you know what? Everyone needs to hear from you. And there's just so many layers. And would you be open? And you had a yes in your heart. And I'm so grateful that you had a yes in your heart. And I know that you have touched others during our time. You have also dropped the mic throughout this conversation, which I'm grateful for. But it is time for you to officially drop the mic. So take a moment or two. And when you are ready, the stage is yours.
Okay. My drop the mic is when life happens, when life challenges show up, whatever that may be, because they will show up, you have only two choices, and that's to fight or fight harder. That's it.
And there you have it. I absolutely cannot thank you enough for how you have showed up on this stop of the tour. Patricia, I can only imagine the amount of people who are like, hold on one second. I'm getting my life and I need to get this in order. I need to get my health. I need to get my appointment. I need to share this with someone, because we all know someone. Or I'd like to think at this point it's so common, especially within the Black community. So many of us, I have anyone who is not connected to someone who has fought for their lives in this way, right? So I definitely cannot wait to learn what impact you sharing your story has had on others. Let people know how they can stay connected with you.
Yes, so you can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fight or Fight Harder Foundation. The handle is at FOFH Foundation. You can find my podcast, as Lydia stated, Fight or Fight Harder, the podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart. Come check your girl out.
Come on, yes, Amazon and iHeart. You better be out here working. I love it. Yes. I'm so full from this conversation. I am. And I just keep in
really
clip in this.
Oh, thank you.
Why are you so fly?
You so crazy. I'm trying to keep up with you, Miss Lydia Blanco.
Not even. Okay, let me tell people how they can stay connected, because if not, we'll be on this call and they're like, why are they still talking? As always, you can stay connected with the Get My Life Tour by visiting thegetmylifetour.com or by connecting on social on Facebook and Instagram at the Get My Life Tour and at Get My Life Tour on Twitter. If you'd like to stay connected with my work journalistically, be sure to connect with me on all social platforms at Lydia T. Blanco, or visit my website, lydiatblanco.com. Y'all, if you have not gotten your life, I don't know what you were doing. right? But in all seriousness, I'm so grateful that you showed up today. And I really hope that you got what you needed and that you got enough to share with others. So be sure to subscribe, download, share with those who you are in community with. Patricia has done. I'm really lost for words, right? You really, you really like. You see me moving my
Oh,
hands as I'm
Lydia,
like,
I know. Oh my God.
you did
Thank you
that.
so much.
You
Thank
are.
you. I'm so grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you. You know, y'all, this has been good. This has been what I've needed, and I hope it's been what you've needed as well. Until the next stop on the Get My Life tour, it has been real. Peace.